pretty normal.
Is it? No, it's not $50. It's like $1,500 to sign up for 2 years if you're a new member.
Oh yeah, it's definitely gone up more for the 2-year membership.
I mean, it's
I
which
think
makes it more
Okay,
compelling to become a
folks.
director consultant.
We are live here. Welcome to Quantum Leap. And we got Lawrence, our favorite graphic designer, who we're going to get to, who does actually a number of innovative designs. But first, I just wanted to introduce my esteemed co-host, Cory and I. And Cory, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and telling us how you've known Lawrence, which I believe you've known him for a lot longer than I have, in fact.
Hey everyone, Cory here, Cory Knott, and I am a visionary business and executive coach with Take Wing Coaching. And I have known Lawrence, I'm not really quite sure how long. I've been involved with the BNI Oakland chapter since 2009, and I think Abundant Referral Circle maybe a little bit after that. So how long have you been in BNI, Lawrence?
Almost 10 years.
Okay, so I've known Lawrence probably since he joined. And he's done some of my backgrounds, and he helps me a lot with BNI right now since I'm president. He's vice president. We have a lot of banter back and forth, and he's always got some great insights and just good at reframing things, which is a great skill to have. Which especially I imagine in graphic design, when you translate it to images, is just reframing, ideas and brands.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about a little of that today. I did want to, in the interest of disclosures, we've had you on several times before, Lawrence, but we still are grateful for the logos that you've done from our podcast, and that just made a huge difference in our branding. And I actually haven't worked with that many graphic designers, or most of the ones I find are just not nearly as interesting or as talented as Lawrence, which is why I'm so excited to have him on. And it's not to say we have a lot of good creatives in the Bay Area, but Lawrence is really top notch, and you'll see that in his work. But if you don't mind just telling us, Lawrence, what you do, and then we're going to take a look at some of your designs after we hear your introduction.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, gentlemen. I've known David for a few years since he's in BNI, and he's demonstrated that he's a very passionate about what he does in getting business owners out in front, and with his talents as a videographer. And then Cory Knott, the visionary business coach. This is a gentleman that Take Wing. I love your tagline. I love your business name, and wish I did the logo, but I like the logo. But that said, these are two gentlemen that really help elevate businesses, and it's nice to be on their podcast, on your podcast. I've been as a graphic designer and branding for over 20 years. And, you get started coming from art school with a crayon and a hope of doing pretty pictures. And then they send you on your way to do that. But what's helpful, before I got into graphic design, I've been in business in a number of iterations. And so I was able to talk to the business owners from a business perspective and how design can help them. But it takes a while to really match the business acumen, the business sensitivities that I have to really elevating really good branding. And that in of itself is nuanced. And right now I feel very comfortable. I believe in getting getting closer with some good logos and good branding. But it takes a while, and it takes the key element to a lot of that is just listening. You ask questions and you listen, and along the way, as the client talks, something happens. I will talk to a videographer and a photographer like David. At some point along the line, as you're taking a picture, the camera goes away and you see the natural element of your client. All of a sudden they become natural in their poses. That's the same thing when you're dealing with graphic design. Somewhere along the line, something from the heart that really is the middle part of what they believe their business is pops out, and there it is. And it's funny because they say something a lot. They say something passionate, and you look at through all their branding, and nothing that they say is actually reflected in any of their branding. So that's interesting. You've said this 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 times, and nothing in your infomercials, nothing in your branding, nothing in your packaging says any of that. Why is that? I didn't know that. So those are the things: listening and asking questions, and being curious and interesting is very helpful in the process.
Yeah, that's so well put. And I don't think I've heard you put it as well before. Maybe it just makes more sense to me now. But I just feel like a lot of graphic designers, what's missing is they don't get to that heart of what you want, that you really focus on those initial conversations to provide something, kind of tap into the soul of what somebody wants, so to speak. And the example I had is my initial wide angle media logo, which you remember how we went back and forth on that, and that kind of made an initial statement about my branding. And then you really captured that with Quantum Leap and the ripple effect, which are such powerful brands that really the podcast kind of grew into, but you captured that initially before we were even, that far down the path. So and that's what's, so unique about you is that process for working with people, but that vision that you have to really get at what people really want and need. And I just see a lot of graphic design out there that's kind of cookie cutter and boring. It doesn't really capture this energy and this certain vibe that is very special in your designs. But with that, I wanted to go through some of your work, if you don't mind just taking us through some of the things you
Yeah,
do.
sure. As I ramp get into this, let me see here. Where are we? You would think I had it all queued up. Chrome, and hang on a second. Let me do this. I was queued. So I just got back from New York, and New York is really interesting because you have it's sensory overload of graphic design, and it's really interesting because I was, from the time I stepped into Penn Station and Grand Central Station, it was amazing overload, and I was constantly looking at graphic design on a variety of levels, and usually they were just top notch. From a lot of those were ads, some of those were logos, but you could see that when you're in some place like San Francisco and New York, you need to really be, if you're at the top of your game, and these are people in the top of their game, it really makes a big difference, and it's amazing. So let me see here. So do you see you see my screen?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, great. So I've got a handful of projects I want to go over with you within the time we have, and just give me, let me know when I'm rambling, we can move on. I've got 3 projects just to sort of give a little bit of a breadth and depth of what I do. One of which is a member of BNI chapter, Business Networking International, and Harold Burton is a pastor there. He's also a plumber, outstanding plumber, but his main focus and passion is being a pastor for his church. And he started out at a church, and he wanted a logo for it, and it's Lighthouse Ministries. And we talked about the process, what it was like, and his tagline was guiding you home. And I really sort of, that tagline, let alone conversations about what he felt his church was about and offering, we sort of looked at building on, Lighthouse. And I started looking at a variety of different, how can Lighthouse play in this? How can Lighthouse cast the light and shine a light and be bright for his parishioners? So I started looking at different things, and this was over the course of probably a month of putting this together, looking at different iterations, and I really dwelled on the eye and lighthouse. Looked at the curvature of a lighthouse, look how I can incorporate it within the logo, and I looked at different fonts. I wanted a font that was definitely solid foundationally, because we're building a lighthouse to guide people home on. So I was looking for a font that had a good base. Then I looked at, okay, how is this light going to beam? I looked at different light iterations and how it was going to spread out and work with the text. Slowly building it up, like if you look at a painting, you're building and building and building and building different pigments on there till you get your final image. And this is the same thing with a logo. There's a lot of things, and I just want to say that there's logos that have clients to go, I like it, and they run with it. You're like, no, I'm still building up paint on this thing to really get it where it's going. So anyway, so here we go. So we got some light. Let's put a dark background on to see how it's going. And so, okay, we've got this, how it's going to cast across the letters. And then I wanted to really put a night theme in there. So I had some stars in there intermixed. And we started working with, okay, how's it going to work in a business card? How's it going to work in a storm setting? And this is ultimately, I wanted to really sort of create a situation that you're guiding your home through rocky times, through rocky moments. And this is still building up of what we're going. So the final logo is up above, but we put it in different marketing narrations. But you get the gist of.
Yeah, no, I like that.
The
And I
progression
hadn't
of where
seen
you
these
go.
before. Yeah. I love kind of high contrast imaging too. And, I did want to just have a little note there that a lot of times people, the person who wants the design is fine with something boring too. So I shouldn't blame everything on the designers, but I love the life that you give to this, how that the high contrast and just the uniqueness of that lighthouse. But the client also has to be willing to have something more creative like that, which you probably run into, by gauging people. Well, maybe they don't want something quite that risky, so to speak.
That's a great point. And part of that is trust. And you hit it on a lot. They don't want to be that risky. They don't want to be out there. And at the same time, the interesting thing is you get clients that go, I want to be like that guy, and that guy's their competition. I want to kind of be like that guy. I'm like, wait a second here. You're branded. You want to be outside of that. You want to be different. You want to be interesting and different. You don't want to be like anybody else. You want to, and this is where branding comes in to differentiate yourself. But I think David, you're spot on with that point, very much so.
Yeah, and I'll
Well,
just add too, just in the process, we actually went through the same process with some of my designs too. And I think you're so good at that coaching part about, how out there you want to be versus, so we went through that too. And, I think that's such an important part of the process.
yeah, but you were a good client. I mean, let me say, you were a client that wanted to go there, and you're willing to go there, and that was good. And so I'm going to say clients come in different flavors. The ones that allow the designer to do what they do, they come away going, "Wow, that's kind of cool." I said, "Thank you for allowing me or to take you there." So yes, but to your point exactly, some clients definitely want it. Like, okay, we're fine, we're good. Let's move on. Let's don't go over the top. So now we have Bernadette Jones. She's the her company's Vision Nova HR, and she's an HR advisor and consultant. And our friend and colleague wanted something that was definitely, she wanted to go with a script font. She really wanted to put herself out there rather than just be an HR business. She wanted to be a presenter on all topics of HR. And it meant she wanted to brand herself. And so, we talked about script fonts. And so we really looked at script font for her name. We also looked at regular print font for her name as well. So there's a different flavors that her name or branding can be out there. And it's really interesting looking at script fonts with B and the J. You're looking at the energy of the two letters if they stand by themselves. How do they look? How do they interplay? What is the flow like? And there's a lot of scripts that just don't, when they may look cool with one group of letters together, others may not. Others are like, wow, Bernadette has a really melodic name and it really flows. And so I was able to narrow for a font that really captured the B and the J really well. And so we looked at another, since we narrowed down one script, we looked at color iteration. They wanted purple. Purple go all over the place. Did you want the purple like on her dress, or did we want like a royal crown, royal purple? What did it look like? So we narrowed it down. So we got to, these are sort of the range of purples. So this is where we got really into it. And so ultimately, what we ended up going with was, we found a really cool script font that was here that we'd love for her full name and just her initials, as well as a really nice sans serif font for her name. It is a light flare, so it is a modified sans serif.
Yeah, I love that watermark with the city. That's such a unique look there.
Those are the things that really make when you're able to elevate a presentation and all of a sudden the logo and the client comes alive. And frankly, I wanted to talk to you about a project. I'd love to do this for all of our members in BNI to have a background of what they do, as well as a nice headshot. And that would be their infomercial slide, maybe with their logo or something. I think it would be a nice project to talk about. My last one, are we good on time, David?
Yeah, I just want to do a quick time check in that we have another minute or two on this, but I did want to get a little bit to get people thinking about if they want to do a rebrand and just some of that stuff with the final
Yeah.
10 minutes or so. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So this will be quick. This is another gentleman. He is his company Surf Clean, and he was in the process of acquiring a van, and he really had big visions of what he wanted in the van. His big visions was I want a van wrap. I want it simple, and then as it evolved, he wanted something more complex. So I gave him a range of things to consider. So when you deal with a van wrap, you really want to start with the schematics of the van. This is the canvas. This is the palette. You want to understand that where are the big areas that where the logo is going to go, where any of the information is going to go. And you really just you start getting an idea of the square footage that you're dealing with. And then you take his logo and start going, okay, what can we go that's safe? What's always interesting with a van is if you're looking at the passenger side of the van, depending on where the logo goes great from front to back. But when you go on the other side of the logo, the other van, I'll give you another iteration. You've got the logo going. The logo is not as cool on the other side. So it's very interesting how you're just like, oh, this will be great. And you flip it to the other side and go, okay, this is a different situation, how the logo needs to interact with the van. So we're looking at flow. We're looking at do you go with white space? White space is clean. It's easy. Ideally, you want a van wrap that people who are on the freeway can see your information. So you want to put in the back of the van. I did not add that in this one. You want to put all contact information. So while you're bumper to bumper on the freeway, they're going to be able to get your information and interact with you. And lastly, he wanted to get more elaborate. So we started doing a water wrap. And ultimately, we started adding iterations of his work on the back. And this is the one that he liked. So this gives you an idea of, you can take branding from something that's on a business card. It can elevate up to a car. It can go on a website. There's a variety of things that your brand can go onto, but it comes into logo captures your vibe, and your vibe can translate through your brand. So there you go.
I love it. And that leads right into my next question before I turn it over to Cory is, if people want to just do something to step up their image in 2023. I know I realize just from personal experience, the difference that getting a new logo can do to add energy to your business or a new set of business cards. What's kind of the low hanging fruit there? Or if you don't mind just setting the table, if somebody wants to make a change to their business next year. Yeah.
So first off, the interesting thing about a logo is it can charge you as a business owner because, oh my God, this is great. I'm psyched. I've got clients that are like vibrating. You can't believe this. And that's awesome. So, it really depends on if you look around and go, is any of my branding communicating with what I'm doing? Your brand should be at the top of your logo, should be at the top of materials you put out, can be in the footer of your emails. Is it communicating what you're doing? So I do rebrands. You take someone's name and give it a completely different flavor. I did that with Courtney Miller. And it starts with is what you're doing communicating to your clients. Are you asking for more money? Is your logo representative of the money that you're asking? Does it present you in a way? It's your entree. It's your style. Your branding is your silent ambassador where you're not around there. So, it starts with the conversation and look, this is my brand. What do you think? Does it need a makeover? Is the color right? It's like, I would say, you know what? You need to start all over. This is the price of it. It could be anywhere from 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, depending on the conversation for a logo. But we can start which starts with a conversation about where they want to go with it. Is it a fine change with the tagline, or does it need to be a full package that goes to business cards, goes to the website, goes to a variety of different things that apply?
Okay, great. And Cory, I'm going to turn it over to you if you have any reaction thus far or experience on designs that you've learned too. Feel free to share.
Yeah, I mean, I always enjoy looking at Lawrence's work, and someday maybe we will talk about doing some redesign of our work, but that's it's Gail's job to handle our marketing, so she decides those things. And yeah, so
Zoom
Lawrence, who makes
background,
an ideal client for you? What's that?
Oh, I just want to add that your logo and your Zoom background is so solid, and Lawrence actually did your Zoom background, which can make a big difference. Not the
Oh
one that
yeah,
you have here, but
yeah, maybe I can pop that up. I'll take a look. But so
Yeah,
Lawrence, who makes a good client for you?
So there are
Yep.
clients that just for any of us, you don't want them being dragged into a situation. Someone said, I need to talk to you. A lot of clients are well aware. This has been in the back of my mind. Everybody, we have these projects in the back of my mind that we want to get to. They're sort of nagging, going, okay, this is the last piece, or this is the first piece. Someone's done all the legwork with they've gone through Cory's program and go, now I want to punctuate it with a good logo. Or it's someone like, I'm starting a food truck and I need to have a logo to get my menu and stuff out there. But my ideal clients right now are, I mean, solopreneurs are great. But the big hanging fruit are law firms. There you go. Law firms. Let's see, the education, healthcare. Would love to get a winery on board. That's sort of a big ask. If anybody's out there that would love to get a designer to do their whole line of wines, would love to do that for a season and carry over. And I work with nonprofits. I've got a few nonprofits I work with that give me the reins to really get their messaging out, and that's really fun because they're like, you get us, do what you do, and I love that. But those are the things: nonprofits, solopreneurs, education, healthcare, and legal and law.
Awesome.
yeah, I actually think I might have a referral for you. We'll see.
Cool.
But yeah, that's great to hear. And Cory, you did find that Zoom background. Oh, but it's behind that the
Yeah,
actual
because I don't
logo.
have my green screen
Oh,
set up for this,
okay.
but
There you
that's
go. Perfect. Yeah.
So
So I love Lawrence, I don't know if you mind just commenting on what you do with Zoom backgrounds, but my background is from you too. I love this creative sense of space that you create with backgrounds, and that can be a great quick thing to really step up your branding, especially if you're doing a lot of Zoom meetings or online meetings. Yeah.
Thanks, David. That's absolutely when everybody was stepping into the to the Zoom sort of realm. A lot of people are just heads in boxes. And it's like, this is a great area that while they're staring at your head, you've got a branding happening behind. You can create that message. And so utilize that real estate, and it's great. So David, I created a few with you. I gave you a photographer background. I love got the logo and the background going with David's. I love actually Cory's was really nice. I know he doesn't have his green screen, but it was fun because it was actually a corner room. I found a window that was a perfect setting for that to drop the branding in, and it was a very dynamic Zoom background, which is a virtual background, and those are low hanging fruit to do. It's you've got to combine a few things, but definitely pays dividends and utilizes dead time. It's just, if you're not utilizing that time for branding, doesn't need to be hit you over the head. It can be subtle, but it is time that's well spent.
Yeah, I still get a lot of comments on my background, but so I appreciate that. And Cory, is there anything else you had before we wrap up here? I'm going to put the links to your website in the comments, Lawrence. If there's any other links you want me to share, feel free. I could put your phone or your email too if you want.
no,
Sure.
that's all I have. Thank you, Lawrence.
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. It's always nice to chat with you, and congratulations on your success, gentlemen, with your podcast. It's very cool. And
Yeah,
you've got a nice Sandeepa's coming on. Is that Sandeep? I don't know. It's not. It's
Oh,
not our
that's a
Sandeepa.
different.
Okay,
I
that's the
actually
one.
put Sandeep on the email with Sandeep, so I made
Oh,
the same
yeah.
mistake. But great segment, Lawrence, and we'll look forward to having you back next year. And I think that was one of the best that we've done. So great work.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Bye,
Dude.
everyone.